Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who make coastal Mississippi and Mississippi, for that matter, such a great place to live, work, and play. Hope you had a great weekend or having a great Monday. It's great to be here, and thank you for listening on SuperTalk 103.1. But if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube or your favorite podcast, we really appreciate that as well. I'm really fortunate. I'll say this all the time, but Kyle Curley is one of the best producers anybody could ask for. He and I have been on this journey for now over 2 years, have had over 600 conversations. It's truly remarkable looking back at how fast time has flown by. But I told Kyle in the last couple of days, I said something to him like, you can set your watch by Kyle, because I join in using from my studio here at the house. I join in using Skype and other technology, and we roll with the shows. And he's Johnny on the spot from his studio as well, and we get this thing done, and it's great. And I have a great content producer in Cammie Martin. She's the one who works with our guests. She once we decide who our guests are going to be, she works with our guests to get them all scheduled and to make sure things are fine. And every now and then we'll have a brainstorming session about, who have we not had back on in a while? We try to have a lot of new folks, and with elected officials, and particularly mayors and others like that, and chamber leaders and others, we want to get back with them on a pretty regular basis just to check in and see what's going on. But again, a lot of new folks, and I love finding those little diamonds in the rough and having those conversations so we can all be inspired. But so anyway, Cammie and I were having a conversation about kind of where are we. And she said, we need to get Robby back, Robby D'Angelo. And I said, you're right about that. She said, here we are. It's already February. January's past us. And every time I think about having another piece of chocolate, I remind myself that I've already blown it on my New Year's resolutions. And I could take a dose of Robby to be reminded that we can all start fresh every single day. So with that said, we invited Robby D'Angelo back. And before we go any further, let me say good morning to you, my friend.
Ricky, it is an absolute pleasure. And hey, look, I don't want to be your source of guilt. I want to be your source of inspiration and motivation. So let's have some fun today.
Yeah, listen, you're a great inspiration. You obviously, for people who don't know, you played football at Southern Miss. You weighed over 300 pounds. You decided to get healthy. There's a great story behind that. You had tremendous progress here in coastal Mississippi. You won just before you left for Florida, you won a bodybuilding contest. Mm-hmm. You go to Florida to sort of, I don't know, take your goal is to take a step up and really begin to change the people who are around you in terms of your profession, so that you can really figure out the maximum opportunity that you have for yourself. And it's been inspiring listening to your journey, and we'll remind some people something about that. But I want to share something with you. This is a quote from John McEnroe. It says, "The important thing is to learn a lesson every time you lose." Every time you lose. So Cammie, in a way, she may be thinking, gosh, I've already lost as it relates to my New Year's resolution. But in a way, she really hasn't, has she?
No, part of like when people beat themselves up about their losses, but that's why we call so much of this a practice. And in practice, you're literally just working on getting better. It's not about perfection. We celebrate progress. We don't celebrate perfection, because perfection can only exist in a vacuum. And I'm sorry, none of us live in a vacuum. So it's about just that journey of progress, and just, we mess up. Look, I mess up too. I'm not perfect, but it's about getting up every day and saying, today I'm going to get better.
So I've described you in the past as an author, a best-selling author. I've described you as a human optimization coach, because as you and I have discussed before, while you may help people with training, that's not really what you do. You're into the mental part. You're into helping people think properly about how to maximize their hope, how to maximize their happiness. And in order to get to that part in their lives, they've got to have a good alignment between sort of how they feel physically and how they feel mentally. And you're convinced that's the only way to succeed, isn't it?
It really is. Like the physical part, that's your battery that gives you energy to carry out everything else you want to carry out in your life. And so much as I get more and more deeper into this work, it really is about fulfillment, and it's about progress. It's about the relationships. I would say relationships is probably the number one thing I'm seeing across the board right now with all my clients that we're really digging into and working on. But it's about just taking all those areas of your life and living them to the max and living them to the fullest. So you're living this journey of life and trying to eliminate regret as much as possible.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who called yesterday. In fact, he sent me a picture at 5:30 yesterday, him working out. Mm-hmm. And because, as you and I have discussed before, I have worked out. My dad died in 1979. In 1980, I went on a mission to work out. And other than a couple of surgeries along the way that, unfortunately, one was related to working out, other than that, I have never missed a week of working out. I've done weights, I've walked, I've run, do the bike, and now I'm 64 years old, and it's been very worthwhile for me. And so he sends me a note because he knows about my journey and he's trying to get started, and I've been trying to coach him into, take the step. And my advice back to him, and this is going to sound very similar to this is going to show you that I've learned from you. My advice back to him was, don't overdo it. Just it's one day at a time. Go at it slow. What's really important is that you sustain this commitment. Don't go in there and get sore and then have to take time off and then fall back in your habits. Drink a lot of water. Walk. But find what will work. Take your baby steps, but stay focused on keeping it going. Don't let up. And it's just one day at a time. That's pretty good advice. That sounds like you, though, doesn't it?
100%. And actually, like when they look at the research in dieting, it's the number one thing across all diets, from keto, Atkins, to whatever diet you decide to do. The number one principle that works across all of them is adherence. And basically that means is you sticking to it consistently. Consistency is the number one variable to progress in any area of your life. So like you said, it's about finding what you like to do, finding out what works for you, and then just doing it every day with the commitment to get better.
Well, the other thing that I mentioned to him, and this is something you and I have talked about before, is that I'm not big on dropping into some kind of massive diet. That start to learn to eat well and learn to eat well, because the reality is, it's not, if you go into a diet sort of fad, you're going to come out of it on the other side and it's not going to work out. What I said was, look, first of all, you got to make sure you get enough protein. So that protein's important. You and I'll talk about that in a second. You got to get plenty of water. There's 100 reasons why that's important. It's important. Don't eliminate the carbs, but cut back on the carbs. I mean, especially if you eat a lot of white bread and potatoes and stuff like that. It's good to try to cut back on that. But try to find a balanced diet and learn to count your calories, because it's incredible. You got to learn to do that. See, I dodged that for years and years and years, but then I started to realize that the key is I got to burn more calories than I take in, and I've got to understand the science behind that. That's important. I mean, it's like relearning how to live a healthy life.
Honestly, for most people, and you said this, the simplest thing you could do when it comes to nutrition is eliminate wasted calories. And what I mean by that is, like, if you go to Starbucks and get the Starbucks drink with 300 calories in it versus getting one with 100 calories. You do that for a week. Now we're, positive, negative 1,400 calories for the week. Eliminating the mindless eating that we do, where we just snack on things. There's so many times during the day where we can make just small little choices that don't cause a big overhaul in your nutrition, where you're just eliminating these little small increments of calories that over the week add up to a big thing. So yeah, you're right. It's not about overhauling your entire diet overnight, because most people won't stick to that because it's too hard. It's about making these small incremental adjustments. We've talked about this past, that 1% better mentality of today, I'm just gonna get 1% better in my nutrition, whether it's drinking water, eliminating the late night snacks, whatever it is. Just make those small little 1% increments every day and stay consistent, and that's where you're gonna win.
So what happened for me is I had a hard time doing water with a meal, just plain water with a meal. And so I would do tea with, unsweet tea with a lemon, and that tended to work pretty well for me. But over the years, I finally just said, wait a minute, I got to find a way to like water. I got to find a way at a meal. So the way it works now is I just put lemon in my water, and now I put lemon in my water all day long. I mean, I've got the water that I have sitting here has got a lemon in it, but I've learned that that's what works for me. I haven't had a soft drink, literally a soft drink, in years. I haven't had, because it's not just the sugar associated with the soft drink, but it's the carbohydrates that are associated with them as well. So, what's your view on soft drinks?
So I have kind of a different view. I'm actually not opposed to diet soft drinks. Here's why. All the science proves that, those small little shots of artificial sweeteners aren't bad for you. Yeah, if you're drinking gallons and gallons of it a day, problem there. But like little small spots of it here and there aren't going to hurt you. And if you need that little bit of carbonation, a little bit of sweetness that comes from a Coke Zero or Splenda in your tea, that's not going to hurt you, and it'll satisfy that little sweet tooth. There's so much bad science wrapped around artificial sweeteners that is just mind blowing. There's a science people that say like artificial sweeteners cause weight gain. How can something with 0 calories cause weight gain? That just is bad science.
We'll continue. Actually, let's continue that part of the conversation on the other side. This is Robby D'Angelo, and we'll continue after this break. Welcome back to Coast Vue. We have Robby D'Angelo here, human optimization coach, great friend of Coast Vue for the last couple of years. Great. Every time we talk, it's a great reminder of the basic steps we can take in our lives that can make a gigantic difference. When we went to break, though, we were talking about artificial sweeteners in sort of a carbonated drink, and he's not a big, he doesn't have a major problem with that. And I've read some of those studies. The problem with these studies, Robby, especially the ones you might see on Facebook, is they are agenda driven too often. And this whole notion that when you drink an artificial sweetener, somehow you're going to overcompensate over here by taking in too many carbs because you had the artificial sweetener. And the whole notion that if you drink an artificial sweetener, you're going to get cancer. I mean, there's no proof that in a moderate intake that's the case, is there?
No, like the studies that actually, like that one study that proved aspartame causes cancer, they were like literally giving rats gallons of this stuff. And for like, as a human, how much that is on a daily basis, it's not something you'd be able to do just physically. So no, these studies are not true. And really, but here's the deal, Ricky, like if drinking something sweet causes you to want more sweetness, like you have to be aware of that. For me, especially like prepping for the bodybuilding contest, I need a little bit of that sweetness hits here and there. I put a sweetener in my coffee that's 0 calories just because it gives me a little bit of sweet tooth and it satisfies my sweet tooth. So therefore I don't go searching for it in something with other calories.
One of the cool things about what you did and moving to Florida is you wanted to surround yourself with, you would change your environment and surround yourself with incredibly successful people. And so that you can take your game and try to figure out where's Robby's max. What can you accomplish in your life and test your own physical ability just so that you can literally lead by example. This has been a good move for you, hasn't it?
It's been an incredible move for all areas of my life. I mean, I'm surrounded by some business people right now that are starting huge companies that are bringing new technology to the market that we sat down with yesterday. So like business is growing just because of like the surroundings. My physical body is improving because I'm around other people that are pushing their max. And, even I'm connected to a new faith community that's pushing me there and calling me to do more there. So it's really surrounding myself with people that I look up to and it's make me strive to be a better person. And I asked one of my clients that the other day, I'm like, hey, how many people in your circle make you want to be better? And I think that's one of the big questions we've got to ask ourselves and the people we surround ourselves with. Are these people pushing me to be the best version of myself?
And they are, aren't they?
They are, absolutely, 100%. And, it's a constant challenge. No matter where I go, I'm surrounded by people that are pushing me past my perceived limits, because that's really what most limits are, is just a perception based upon our limited beliefs. And when we really step outside and we see other people doing the things we thought were hard and thought were impossible, no, it's actually possible if I would just quit thinking that it's impossible.
So when so you're working out, let's say at your gym, and you can give me a sense of the quality of the bodybuilders that are around you, but they hear your story as, playing offensive line for Southern Miss for 4 years and coming out at 300 pounds and all the mental stuff that you were going through, and this decision you made to really gain control of your life and become the best version of yourself you can possibly be. How do they view you when you, and give me a sense of the kind of people that are around you?
It's such a good environment, Ricky. I'll be honest with you. It's a bunch of people that are really doing the same thing I'm doing, is striving for their best. A lot of people that I'm in the gym atmosphere with, they're not working out just to maintain. They're not working out just because they think it's a good thing to do. Like, no, these people are pushing themselves, and I'm around other people that are testing my own perception of what it means to work hard. And I love seeing that. And then when we start talking, what I love about it is I do have a story of losing over 100 pounds, but this other professional bodybuilder has a story of coming out of an abusive relationship where she was mentally and physically abused, and bodybuilding literally saved her life. Or this other person that was in a deep depression, and bodybuilding gave him an identity. So it's all these stories of people overcoming adversity and turning to something positive that has really helped them. And that's that real unifying bond that a lot of people in this gym have.
Wow, that's so interesting. So you continue to consult. That's obviously how you make your living, but you also continue to sort of strive to become the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. By winning your bodybuilding division down here on the coast last year, it enabled you to sort of kind of take a step up in terms of the competitive situation. Where are you in relation to that?
So becoming nationally qualified last year, it gave me the opportunity to compete on a national level. So I sat down with my coach. We had a long talk, and he's like, look, if you want to go for it, I got you. Let's go. And I said, hey, I'm not getting any younger. I don't want to think about this 20 years down the road and be like, man, what would have happened? So I'm like, look, let's go for it. I don't have much time left. I am getting on up there in the bodybuilding world age. So let's go for it. So we're going to go try to become a professional.
Wow, that's good. And then what is involved in that? Because I noticed for the Facebook and YouTube audience, you can see this, but if you've been a regular listener here on Coast Vue, what you can see is that Robby clearly has been working on his upper body. He's thicker than I've seen you probably ever. Actually, I don't know if that's true or not. Other than the time that you were at Southern Miss, and that's a different kind of a thick that you were at that time. But is it true? I mean, have you taken your game to a new level?
I have. And really what it's been is it's been a commitment to consistency. And it's been, this has really been about a 3-year journey that I've been on to this point. And that's been the biggest thing. It's working with knowledgeable professionals that are saying, here's the plan. And then me saying, okay, here's my plan. Now let me go execute it to the best of my ability and give it 100% effort. And I'm working with a guy named Austin Connolly from the coast, Pascagoula, opening a new gym in Pascagoula. And he's trying to become a professional as well, and having him in my corner, just giving me a plan of what to do. And I think that's something that a lot of people could benefit from, is having that mentor or that coach in your life that's giving you an outside, unemotional perspective on, hey, here's the plan. Okay, no, you're on track. Don't screw it up. You're on track. And that's been such a huge benefit. And it's also that accountability piece of me having to send him check-in pictures for over a year now. Every Saturday I wake up and I have to send him pictures of what I look like. And that's, to me, that's been huge, because that's that accountability piece to make sure that I'm giving 100% every week.
When I was young, when I was working for the Sun Herald, very early in my career, you think about coaches. I had Roland Weeks as a mentor for my professional life. And then I think about, I had 2 or 3 other people that I really leaned on hard from a mentoring point of view. And then I remember Doc Rhodes, Rhodes Fitness. Doc,
Love Doc.
Taught me how to work out with weights. Doc, I worked out with Doc for, I don't know how many years, 10, 15, I don't know how long I worked out with Doc. Eventually had, developed my own capability here at the house. But it's powerful. And I think about, you say you've had 2 or 3 coaches along the way. I probably have had that at any given point in my life, and it helped me sort of get the most out of my career. And then it obviously it's kept me motivated to take care of myself physically. But just because you're a coach doesn't mean that you don't need coaches, right?
That's how much I believe in the profession. And, a lot of people, they have such a weird concept of what coaching really is. But every high performer in the world has a coach in some way. I mean, look at the best ever Tom Brady. Tom Brady literally had a coach in every aspect of his life, from a personal chef to a guy that's helping him with his body, to a guy that's helping him with his recovery, to his quarterback coach, to his offensive coordinator. He had so many coaches helping him get to that greatest of all time status. And why would we look at that and say, oh, we don't need that? Why would we look? And it was, I think it was the CEO of Lowe's that said, to reach your human potential, you absolutely need a coach in your life. And because here's what I've learned in my coaching business. Everybody always says it's you against the man in the mirror, and it is. But what keeps you from your greatness a lot of times is what you don't see in the mirror. And we need that person to help us see what we can't see, because a lot of times we're trying to see the forest from the trees, and it's so hard because we're emotionally attached instead of looking at it from that logical point of view.
Tom Brady is an inspiring story. I mean, whether you like Tom Brady or not, what he has done over many, many years to stick to it. And given that, he played in Florida and whatever, I bet you hear a lot about him and his commitment.
Absolutely, you do. And, a lot of people have that misconception about him. I think he's cocky and arrogant. But when you watch the behind the scenes stuff of who he really is, yes, he is competitive, just like Kobe Bryant. Everybody thought he was arrogant, but no, he's just competitive. Jordan was the same way. His teammates, a lot of time Jordan's teammates gave him hell because of how high standards he had. But that's just that competitiveness. But when you look at it, Brady, he's just a good old boy from the Midwest he loves his family, and he's just so humble, but he's just overly competitive. And a lot of times that's what people see, but you have to have that little competitive edge to you. And it's that competition of you versus you to get better and make progress over who you used to be.
Well, he masters that. In fact, what we got to do the next time we visit, because we're out of time for today, but when we talk next, we got to break Tom Brady down a little bit, because he's an interesting case study, and a lot of people, especially older guys, can really pay some close attention to what he's done. It didn't come easy for him. No. Anyway, we'll be back after this break. Thank you, Robby D'Angelo. I appreciate you spending some time with us today, buddy.
Ricky, always a pleasure, man.
You bet. Take care.